institutions in Nigeria. According to the Minister of Education, Dr. Olatunji Alausa, the decision is aimed at improving the quality of our higher education rather than expanding access. He also urged university non-teaching staff unions to remain patient while the Yahya Ahmed Committee complete ongoing negotiations with them. The minister explained that Nigeria's main concern is now raising education standards and not increasing the number of institutions. Kadi, quickly, is this decision an admission that Nigeria already has too many universities and polytechnics?
Of course it is. But like we said, and I think that's one of the things the minister also mentioned. How do you help the existing universities to grow? He has boasted, and I use the word boasted, the minister has boasted that we are going to have more people showing interest in public universities. That's the way it should be. I'm a product of public university. And sometimes I do not pray that when my children are old enough to go to university, I should push them to private university, because that's what is reigning now. There's a lot of people who can afford it, prefer these private universities because the bottlenecks of admission is less, and even the quality, shockingly, is also getting better in some few private universities. But I am an advocate of public universities, and I believe that beyond what he's saying, because the way the minister is working, in fairness to him, he's not working like a typical politician. He's thinking beyond this administration. He's thinking, you know, when you hear him say things like ASU problem has ended, it doesn't sound like a politician. And it's quite warming, it's quite encouraging to me. So this is quite understandable, this is quite good. He gave his data to say that last time almost 228 tertiary institutions asked less than 50 people applying to go to that school. So that's to tell you that a lot of people are beginning to say that, hey, there's no more strike, because that's usually the first thing that make parents to say, I don't want to take my children to public university. So, but if that is in place, trust me, a public university is way better. You have professors to teach you, you have real academics to take you up. But if it is private university, your child can come out with a first class and he can't face a class. You know, people are even given degrees, giving good grades just to show the point that if your child comes to this school, you will get a first class. So some of these things are questionable, and public universities at all time, in my view, is much better.
Thank you very much. Now, Raymond, the 6-month suspension that has been 6 years that has been created for non-establishment of universities and polytechnics now, do you think it will strengthen the possibility of having a quality and standard public university education like he just highlighted not too long ago?
Yeah, I actually think so. And don't forget, this policy is also a follow-up to a similar moratorium placed on private universities not long ago. Because you move around the country, universities have become some kind of secondary schools. Literally every state has average of 5 private universities. So it's becoming so,
watered down.
Yeah, watered down. So I think within these 6 years, if the Honorable Minister, with the way he's speaking, if government devotes attention into enhancing quality, prioritizing staff welfare, and also, training and retraining of staff, it's going to cascade or lead to better qualitative education in our public university. It's unfortunate that for some reason, if you say you are going to a public university, it's been seen as though you are not particularly, it becomes almost a status symbol to go to private universities as against public universities. I am also a product of public university, and I have to say, if given the opportunity to also raise my own kids, they will go to a public university. So if government stays on this course, the CCA period is a good time enough, mobilize state fund and other sources of funding for universities and equip our public universities so that they can be competitive with their peers in other parts of the world.
Now, Kaudi, it brings some kind of ray of hope when you hear the government saying that non-teaching staff union should be patient during negotiations. Now, how reassuring is this?
I think it is. It is. Even though I've said in another forum where I said that while politicians are playing politics, the non-teaching staff should also bear in mind that there are levels and there are classes. You know, this idea of if you do for ASU, you must do for NASU. This idea of if you do for this, you must do for this, that's fine. There's nobody who wants to be left out.
Yeah.
But you should bear in mind that this doesn't have to be achieved through blackmail or some kind of subtle, you know, harassment of government. Government should fulfill their words by taking care of them. It is quite important. The classes should be clean. The fans should be working. The environment should be okay.
Conducive.
But, you know, having the same privilege with the teaching staff, I think is asking for too much. However, their remuneration should be better. It should be made better. And whatever agreement they want to reach, let's believe that the committee setup will come up with workable idea. But there's something that is happening in secondary school and primary school that I would like to draw example of. And I think government is arresting it on time. Because just like you said, I want my children to go to public universities. How many of us want our children to go to public secondary schools and primary schools? This is how it started. That many of us now have disdain for public primary and secondary school. So the federal government should be very, very intentional to make sure that it doesn't get to that level.
Absolutely.
And I have seen states, I don't know whether it's still like that. Some years ago, I went to those states, particularly when Oshomole was in power, and I could tell you that what I saw in the public primary secondary school then was better than many private primary secondary school. Quote me. This to tell you that they can also do something about our secondary schools and about our primary schools. Let's give them attention. There are better teachers in all these public schools. So that upcoming parents, you know, can also put their children in these schools.
So Raymond, are we going to be looking at an influx of willing teachers, you know, finding their way into our public universities now to come teach? Because it appears people don't find that job that lucrative anymore because of how, you know, other teaching staffs have been treated. So are we going to be looking at improvement in that regard?
Yeah, expectedly, particularly against the backdrop of the recent, you know, ASU and the ramping up of the working conditions of staff, academic staff in the public university. Added to this policy, if government matches words with action, I think this university will become attractive to other, you know, lecturers from this private university. So I think, expectedly, that is what but that will be conditioned to the government matching words with action with this policy.
Thank you. Kadi, before we finally leave this conversation, the National Orientation Agency, what role do you think they should be playing in actually playing up the, you know, the heightened success of the possibility of having a more fulfilled public institution, so that parents will now begin to have a redirection of their attention towards public universities? At least now, ASU situation is has given way. There is encouragement now, but I think the National Orientation Agency, don't they have work to do?
Yes, they do. And I think you have also helped them with what you're doing with this kind of topic, is to roll out data. Roll out data, look at the product of these public universities, mention the amounts they are being paid now. Professors are getting higher money. And trust me, I spoke with my lecturer this week, and we will not want to mention his name. And it's about 65 now. And he told me, I said, I'm happy to know that you're still in the system. And he said, no, this is where I'm retiring. Wow. You know, it feels better now because he's now a prof. And he's telling me, this is where I'm retiring. I'm not going anywhere.
Very reassuring.
I've been here, and now we are getting some fruits. And you're telling me, why am I still here? I'm going to stay in this system.
Right.
You know, we know they do some shady deals in the past where many of them will still teach because of the poor pay. They will still go to private universities to be teaching. But, you know, I think the private universities, look at it now, there are less applicants. So where do they get money? It is garbage in, garbage out. If there are not enough students, they won't be able to pay this. But I'm, like the minister promised, they are not going to kill these private universities. They are going to look at the loans. They are going to look at the things they are using. They're even going to give them some kind of support so that we don't kill these private universities. But the ones that do not have the minimum standard, the NUC should look at it and